Hello, my name is Gary Schneidkraut, Vice President of Wine and Spirits at Protis Global. I am joined today by Jean Heins, Chief Marketing Officer of Broken Shed Vodka. Jean, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Jean, I have to say, so we've been in touch for several years. You've been with Broken Shed. Your leadership style is one that I've always really admired. You put a very strong emphasis on cross-functional collaboration, especially sales and marketing, working
Mhm.
hand in hand. Um,
Yeah.
and you're not afraid to ask questions like, why are we doing this? Or how
Mhm.
else can we do this? For the past 7 years, you've led marketing for an incredibly unique vodka brand in New Zealand, Broken Shed Vodka.
Mhm.
Today, what I'd love to do is discuss the allure of the spirits industry, how Broken Shed Vodka marches to the beat of its own drum,
Mhm.
and your predictions for the year ahead. 23 and 24 were um, roller coasters and
Mhm.
challenges for our industry. But I was wondering if to start, would you mind just telling us a little bit more about yourself and your journey into the spirits industry?
I had yeah, sure. I had a kind of a strange entry into the industry. I didn't come looking for it. It kind of found me. Um, I was art and business major in college, and did a bunch of different jobs as I got out of college. The timing was tough for employment, so I just kind of did whatever I found.
Yeah.
And then I saw this ad and it was like perfect for me. It was in the art industry. It was the operations end of it. It was a little sales. And I was just like, oh. And then I panicked when I went to see the location because it was in a garage in this man's house. And I was like, oh, really? And but I really hated the job I was doing at the time, and I really, really wanted to be in this business.
Yeah.
And it turns out that man was Sidney Frank, and
Oh, wow.
so yeah, so I he had a little side business publishing Israeli artist called Yaakov Agam, and so I ran that business, and did the art expos and all that stuff. And one day he came to me and he said, "You're smart. You're somebody I think can do a lot. I want you to take over marketing in my liquor company." And
Wow.
as a very wise person told me, he just offered you a job in his bread and butter company. Take it. And I jumped and I've never looked back. I love this industry. I had, we talked about it before, but I didn't plan on being in spirits. I didn't really plan on this as like my trajectory, but I
Mhm.
adore this industry. It's,
Yeah.
it's changing, but it's such a family industry and it's so small that
Yes.
so many people in it. It's gotten much bigger over the years and it's gotten more corporate, but I think that underlying familial thing is still there.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of relationships that really are important in this business. And it's what I love about this
Yeah.
business. And I used to tell people that worked for me that it's like, just remember that whoever you're with, they're going to come in your circle again.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
going to work for them. They're going to work for you. You're going to work next to them. They're going to be on the supplier side. You're going to be on the distributors. It's just going to keep switching around.
Yeah.
And, you know, my career is unusual that I spent so much of it at Sidney Frank because once I got there, I never left until
Right.
this. And then, so I had a long, I tell people I admit to 30 years. I'm not going any further than that.
Right.
But,
Let's cap it.
yeah, so but it was an amazing journey there you know, and an incredible company to work for and
Yeah.
met some really amazing people and, having the opportunity to work directly for Sydney and, you know, work with him hand in hand on creating all those masterful brands.
Yeah.
It's an education you couldn't get anywhere else.
Oh,
I mean, Jägermeister, Grey Goose, Casamigos, Geiki Kansaki. I mean, really, there's,
uh, legendary brands. Sidney Frank. I mean, the name is legendary, and as we all know, his operation grew beyond a garage.
Yes.
But I love what you said because I I'm constantly repeating myself that adult beverage is a huge industry but a very small world.
Yeah, it
And
is.
it's a circle of how we can support one another and always trying to do the right thing.
Well, even Broken Shed, I mean, Steve Bellini is our president. He and I worked together at Sidney Frank. It's like when he left Sidney Frank, I called him and I said, I found this really lovely little brand. Do you want to come join us? And he
Yeah,
was like, a vodka? I said, wait till he taste it. And once he tasted it, he agreed and he came on. So Steve and I are united again, and we've got some salespeople that have worked with us before. It's just the way of this industry. You
yeah,
never burn a bridge in this industry because
never.
you know you're always going to be working with people again.
Yes, it's extremely special, and I think the fact that it's part of culture, and
Hmm.
everyone you know is able to talk about the brands whether they're a consumer or not. It's something fun and
Yeah.
enjoyable.
I mean,
Um,
what's not to like about it?
I I don't know. We
Yeah.
deal with some great personalities,
Hmm.
and I remember, excuse me, when I worked for a distributor,
Hmm.
I had a boss who said, what we're doing here, it's not brain surgery. And I was almost
Hmm.
insulted. I thought he was saying that you don't have to be intelligent to do it.
Yeah.
And he clarified and he said, look, if a bottle breaks in transit, no one
Hmm.
dies.
Hmm.
We're here to enrich the experiences of
Hmm.
our consumers,
Yeah.
and that to me is really
And we're here to
special in
bring
this.
enjoyment to people and to make things, fun.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
what's wrong with that? We
Yeah.
all need a little more fun in our lives,
Yes,
you
yes.
know.
It,
So it's all good. And like I
it,
said, just walking around WSWA the first time and just having
mhm.
people just have the people the way they know each other and how they tied up to each other, and it was pretty amazing. And now I can do that. I can walk
Yeah,
around and I know those people and I can introduce people, and it's kind of cool.
yeah. It's like a high school reunion. I love those
Totally.
events, WSWA and Discus, and seeing
Yeah.
old friends, meeting new.
Hmm.
But
DCB Brooklyn's becoming like that as well.
oh, I
Yeah.
really enjoy that. As a New
That one's a fun
Yorker,
show.
it is. It is. And I think also having consumers and beverage directors and some of the decision makers in the accounts that we sell to,
Hmm.
it's great to hear their perspective as well.
It's important. It's
Yeah,
why it's when going back to what you said in my introduction, it's important that sales and marketing work together. They're on the street, and you can't be like in a cloud somewhere. You have to be on the street with them.
yeah,
You have to listen to them because they're doing the day-to-day work of getting the brand into people's mouths.
yeah.
You've got to give them tools, but if you're not giving them the right tools, it doesn't matter.
You're absolutely right. And Gene, you mentioned your career has involved the development of some very iconic brands, and as you
Hmm.
mentioned, Jägermeister, Grey Goose, Casamigos.
Yeah.
What drew you after the larger organization experience with Sidney Frank and Moss Jägermeister? What drew you to join a craft brand like Broken Shed Vodka?
So when you leave a job, the first thing they tell you is to think about what you love.
Mhm.
And when I really seriously thought about it, I loved working for, I loved the startup. I loved the beginning of all those brands. I loved when we were creating something or taking something that really didn't exist in the American mind and growing it. And I loved having, my hand in a lot of different pies and that whole like being able to see something from start to finish. And I realized where I'm going to get that is a craft brand. The other thing I loved is selling products that I actually like and I love. And so I wanted to find that again. I had the luxury of being able to wait and to choose. And so that was really um, amazing for me. And so when I met the people from Broken Shed and they were talking about the company, it was super tiny. I mean, we're still tiny, but it was super tiny then. And there was virtually no sales.
Yeah,
And but I tasted the product because I did this. I said the same thing Steve did. I said, "What, a vodka? Really?" And then I tasted it, and I was like, "Oh, this is a good one." And
Yeah.
then I said, "I can do this," because I wanted. It's so much easier to do my job when you really believe in the product, and I
Yes.
do. And what really, really gets all of us is every time someone tastes it, they say the same thing, like, "Wow."
Yeah.
Literally, like, wow, this is such an amazing product. And
Yeah.
it is. So I've, I've jumped and I'm not looking back because when I started Sidney Frank, it wasn't so big.
Right. And I mean the brands that you've worked with and the evolution you saw at Sidney Frank. I mean your track record is sterling.
Yeah. I
And
mean, Jägermeister, I think when I started, sold 4,000 cases. And
get out.
yeah, I mean, and that's probably giving more away. But it's like it went, and then in my tenure, and I think it got pretty damn close to 3 million. It was up to 2.8, 2.9, somewhere in there.
Wow.
So that was pretty good. And Grey Goose, we took from nothing, like we literally created it
Yeah.
and brought that up to, when Bacardi bought it. So that was pretty amazing. And
Yeah.
same thing, Casamigos was, a small brand that they were producing for themselves basically, and we brought it national. So that was
Yeah.
three pretty amazing stories to be a part of.
I think each of those brands, if you were to name the category, whether it's vodka, tequila, or shots or liqueur, each of those brands are easily the first or second brand that any consumer would call out and
Yeah,
know whether they're
they're
in the
all
industry.
iconic in their areas.
Yes, I think iconic is a perfect word for it.
Hmm.
Um, and as far as telling the story, so obviously the liquid in the bottle is
Hmm.
is what's going to keep consumers coming back.
Always.
It's right now. It's a very competitive landscape in spirits. I think
Hmm.
we've seen with tequila and bourbon and certain whiskeys,
Yeah.
somewhat overcrowded. But I think that authenticity and the story of the brand is what can attract new consumers. I read the Broken Shed story starts in
Hmm.
an actual broken shed on a
Yeah.
frozen lake in New Zealand, where I read the founders, that's where they first came up with the idea
Yeah.
for the vodka. Um, how does that authentic founding story help you differentiate the brand in today's crowded sea of products?
I think it really speaks to the authenticity of the brand.
Mm,
Like, we're not making a story up. We're not making up the brand. It's
yeah.
it's real. I mean, these three guys really were hanging out in this, broken shed. It's like every guy in New Zealand has a shed in the back. It's like the equivalent of their man cave. And
Right.
so they were hanging out there and they decided they were going to you know, make a vodka. Like they'd never been in the industry before. They decided, we've got amazing ingredients in this country. Let's make a
Yeah.
vodka. And, they found Mark Simmons, who is still our blender and, the brand's creator, and they went ahead and do it. And you know, it's just been such an amazing journey. I think that Mark's whole thing was to stay with quality ingredients and no
Yeah.
additives. And I think that's something that's super important to our brand. And above all, taste. So you have to have a pretty bottle. That's what people pick you up with. But you have to really have that taste.
Yeah.
And that's what they've done. It's, the liquid is amazing. I think that, one of the things Mark says all the time is that there's an easy way to make vodka and a hard way. And we go the hard way because we
Yeah.
think it results in a much better product. We use the way distill it, and we use two waters, and we even go through the effort of trucking our mineral water from the South Island of New Zealand up to the North Island where we do our bottling,
Oh wow.
because we think it's that important to have that water. The story they tell is when they were looking, every time they changed anything in the product, it changed everything about the product. And they were constantly trying to blend the product and try new waters and try new distillate bases. And they
Yeah.
quickly landed on whey. And that really fit because countries like to use something like a starch that they have abundance of. And
Right.
New Zealand is renowned for their dairy, so they have amazing dairy. So whey is a byproduct, so that gives us sustainability, which is important to people today, and it also gives us that really wonderful pure base to distill.
Yeah.
And then the waters, of course, are such an important part of vodka. So we blend those two waters, we bring them in, we keep the minerals in our water. So that's a point of differentiation.
Okay.
And that helps give us that sweetness and that lushness and that mouthfeel. Um, you know, we don't use any additives. That's, as Mark says, that's the easy way to make something feel better. But we
Yeah.
do it with our ingredients. And I think that that's super important. And I think that that speaks to the American consumer and the global consumer. It
Oh,
certainly does to the New Zealand consumer.
yes. And I think Gen Z and today's consumers are very conscious of what they're putting in their body and
Hmm.
authenticity and sustainability. You've basically covered
Hmm.
what my next question is that uh, Broken Shed vodka only uses three ingredients, two
Yeah.
of which are water.
Yeah.
Um, Proudly additive free, sugar free, gluten free, no GMOs. And in an interview I read with you, you were very vocal about modern consumers' insistence on transparency.
Hmm.
Um, can you tell us more about why vodka drinkers, prior to trying the liquid, should reach for Broken Shed next time they're at the store?
I think that our price and our quality is like an unmatched pair. We have probably one of the best quality vodkas out there. I'd put us up with any top ranking vodka. I'd
Yeah,
tell you to taste us against them. That's how much I believe in the product. That's how much I think our taste stands up. Yet our price is not up in that skyrocketed area. We're kind of in the middle zone. And
yeah,
so, when they talk about affordable luxury, I think we cap that right there. But the thing that I always come back to is the taste. It's so clean.
yeah,
It's doesn't have like any kind of aftertaste. It doesn't have like that ethanol burn. It's got a lovely, it's got lovely notes because it's only been distilled 3 times, so you
yeah,
get all those nuances. It's got a little bit of a sweetness from the mineral water. It's got a little grassiness. It's got a little vanilla. They're
yeah,
all very subtle, but they're there. And my favorite quote was somebody told me it dances all over your mouth because it hits all those taste buds. And I thought that
yeah,
was the most accurate description. And it's got a lovely warmth. It kind of goes down like, a nice warmth. And I think the American consumer has kind of graduated in a lot of ways. And they
yeah.
were looking for a very bland, nothing vodka. And now they want that character. And Broken Shed delivers that.
Yeah, and the mouth feel of
It's
Broken
amazing.
Shed. I mean, the way that it coats your tongue, and as you said, it doesn't have that burn. It's a really enjoyable
Hmm.
vodka, and by definition, vodka is a flavorless, odorless, colorless spirit.
Well,
Correct?
they did update that definition. So they
D-
did. Yeah,
uh,
the definition
so
was recently updated to kind of acknowledge that vodkas do have some, there is some character to them. So they've
yeah,
updated the definition a little bit. Still got to be pretty neutral, but
yes,
and I think that the craft vodkas are really embracing that. And I think
yeah,
that, I'm a little biased, but I think Broken Shed embraces it and does it better than anyone else.
yeah, yeah, and as far as the brand itself, the vibe that I got as I was researching more, and that the founders were hanging out in a shed on the lake.
Yeah,
To me, it was the brand also represents togetherness
it
and
does.
camaraderie.
There's
You know,
such an incredible friendship there.
yeah,
And just, I didn't mean to cut you off, sorry. But
no,
there's an incredible friendship there. And I think that that goes in there. There's the three founders are friends. They go hiking, they climb, they do all the stuff together. And I think that that's part of the brand's DNA. And I
yeah,
think that, you want a product that has that and, that it's was built to be a brand that they want to drink.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think that shows.
absolutely. Um, and at first acknowledging the fact that you had joined Sidney Frank when it was in his garage.
No,
But
well, that was the
it,
art company. The Sidney Frank was in a
oh,
real office.
okay, okay, fair, fair. But I mean, like it's Sidney Frank, and the fact that you were part of the growth in volume and brand
Mhm.
recognition and awareness, and having had resources at a certain point as the EVP of marketing and sales operations, having gone from a well-known resource company and brands, how much of an adjustment was it for you to apply that or transition from that big brand experience to a growing brand like Broken Shed?
I had to really reach back to the early
Yeah,
days.
yeah,
It was a little like, disconcerting because we all work remotely in this company.
yeah.
So, we're all scattered around the United States and New Zealand. And so the first day I started working, I kind of sat at my computer at my desk and I went, all right, now what?
Right.
And then I just dove right in. And I
Yeah.
think that's part of what makes me me. I just started researching about whey, vodka. I had many, many conversations with Mark Simmons, our blender, and he and I have developed a very good friendship mostly over Zoom. But we've met each
Right.
other a few times. And the enthusiasm for the brand by everybody that works here is
Yeah.
contagious. We all love the brand. And I think that that really says a lot about the brand because
Mhm.
we all join this company because we love the brand.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important. Do I miss having a huge support staff? Yeah.
Support staff, budget, the XYZ.
The
Yeah.
budget, being able to do anything you needed to do, getting the word out about a product, yeah, you miss it. So you just have to work smarter and make the most of what you have. I
Yeah.
mean, we've had we have great investors and we have people that have really supported the brand over the years. So that's all, really wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, there's days when I'm packing up an order, not an order of vodka, but like I'm packing up a sample or something. And I was like,
Yeah.
I really do miss when I could give this to someone else to
Right.
do.
To hand it off and they know, but it must have been reinvigorating. I mean, that
You know what?
you had
It's the
scaled the
energy.
mountain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so much fun. I really, really wanted to start again with something like this,
Yeah.
and I knew a craft brand would appreciate what I could bring to the table. And so
Yeah.
it's really, you know, it's been an amazing, experience working here. And,
Yeah.
I
And
love it. So,
something that we really stress to our partners here at Protis Global is you you want to bring someone on board when hiring strategically,
mhm,
not just somebody who's experienced success and wild growth, but somebody who has also experienced downfalls and made
mhm,
mistakes and learned, so that
yeah,
through their previous experiences they've learned where the landmines are buried and what booby traps to look out for. And in
yeah,
retrospect, you could say, well, at Sidney Frank, we achieved this in 9 steps, but looking back, we could have
mhm.
done it in 3 or 4. And you're able to bring that to Broken Shed of what works, what doesn't work, and also figuring out a unique formula for a brand like Broken Shed.
I think that's one of the reasons why Broken Shed is so successful. We've
Mm-hmm.
brought together a team of really experienced people from the industry.
Yeah.
And, you know, the founders didn't know anything about the industry, but they brought in people that did.
Mm-hmm.
So, our executive team and our salespeople and all our field people, they're all industry veterans.
Yeah.
So it helped us avoid some of the pitfalls. And, because we've all kind of seen it and we've known what happens, but we also have the experience to know that things change.
Yeah.
And, what worked yesterday might not work today, but some of the
Mhm.
basics are still there. So I
Yeah.
think that that's helped us with our growth. We had the relationships. We've kind of knew some of the pitfalls to avoid,
Mhm.
and we all work really hard and we all love the brand. So I think that's, you know, that together with having an amazing product, it's a gorgeous package, but the
Yeah,
taste
it
is what
is.
keeps bringing people back. And I think that that's part of our success.
Yeah. I, I think that's really insightful and relevant. What you just said, that founders who don't have experience in the alcohol industry, but having the foresight to surround themselves with people
Mhm.
who do. You
Right.
know, post pandemic, there was such a flood of new brands coming into the
Mhm.
market
Yeah.
in spirits, RTDs, seltzers, I mean, pretty much every category. And you can find that certain founders or investors who have found great success in one industry will
Mhm.
then come into the alcohol industry thinking, well, I've been successful in my other endeavors, but we work in a highly nuanced
Yeah. It's a
industry, very
different animal.
regulated, compliant. Oh my goodness! I mean, an animal all of its own,
Yeah.
um, and that's something that we try to be consultative and advisory
Mhm.
with our partners in the importance of hiring strategically, and
Mhm.
folks like yourself who have scaled brands to success and exit, um, but have also work cross functionally and are more multifaceted,
Mhm.
understanding how each you know sort of department or function within the organization works together and to achieve the ideal growth. So
Yeah, I think for craft brands, it's so important that you have the ability to wear multiple hats
yes.
because, you can't have, any staff you have, you're going to try and get as much of it in the field as possible.
Mhm.
So you want that ability. And I keep adding another hat to my rack here and it's fun. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, I can do that. And it's like
yeah.
you just dive in and do it. I, I didn't work on production planning before, but I mean peripherally, you talked about like what the goals were, but
Yeah.
now I'm actually, I meet with Mark and Marty like every week, and we kind of plan out what we're doing and what we're doing. So it's kind of fun, you're gaining new things. And I
Yeah.
think the other part is somebody that's able to be hands on, like they're
Hmm.
not afraid to like get their hands dirty and get in there and do the work.
Yeah. Sometimes I think it can be short sighted when hiring a leader that is great at delegating, but doesn't necessarily want to or remember how to roll up their sleeves and as you
Yeah.
said, get their hands dirty. So
And in craft brands, there's very few people to delegate to.
yeah, exactly. So, you can delegate all you want, but who's listening? Maybe
Yeah.
your Amazon Echo device, but they're not going to pack a sample for you.
No, no, but it's
Um,
it's but it's part of the fun, and it's part of knowing that you're part of the brand success.
yeah, and I think especially with emerging brands,
Hmm.
you have an opportunity that's so unique to see your fingerprints
Hmm.
on what the brand was when you joined and
Yeah,
what it is 1 year from now, 3 years from now. You directly see your input in the growth and success and evolution of the brand.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, we've had amazing growth history. I mean, the we looking at the numbers in the liquor handbook, no other vodka is growing anywhere near what we are. We've been the fastest growing in the United States for at least 4 years. I
wow.
think last year we grew 40% over 2023. So, and we just topped 36,000 9-liter cases, which if you're a Grey Goose doesn't sound like much, but for a craft brand that's pretty impressive. And we think that our growth is going to keep going like that.
That's incredible. I mean, 40% year over year, especially during this period where
Hmm.
the pandemic, the industry was printing money. Things were great. And then 2023, I think there's normalization. There's a
Yeah.
shift in consumer behavior.
Total
Um,
reset.
yeah, newer consumers entering legal drinking age are not consuming alcohol as much.
Hmm.
Um, and additionally, a lot of distributors, wholesalers, and retailers might have over purchased
Hmm.
because things were going so well, but
Yeah.
depletions haven't caught up. So they're sitting on mountains of inventory, and now sales are down. So what do you attribute Broken Shed's growth to? That I guess when people are deciding to buy vodka and indulge in spirits, they're choosing Broken Shed. How have you guys been able to really go against the tide that the industry's been experiencing?
I think that the product,
Yeah,
it's going to be first and foremost, but we have an amazing team out there. We have, you know, almost, I think we have like 20 people working across the country,
yeah,
working with their distributors, working with their accounts, doing tastings, all of the, nuts and bolts things you need to do to get people to taste the product.
yeah.
And those are all part of our success. A big change for us last year is that we signed a national agreement with Southern. So that's
Congratulations.
huge. So with Southern and then supplemented by some of the top distributors in these states that Southern doesn't cover, we've got an amazing network of
Yeah,
distributors. And the consumer, I think, after all this, they still want something that's quality, that's affordable, that tastes amazing,
yeah,
and we bring that to them. So I think that that's all part of why we're successful. And I think there's a little bit of, people want to try something new.
yeah,
And when you try it, you know, you see that there's a difference. I That's what I tell people all the time. Take what you drink now and taste it against Broken Shed and just
mm,
see what you think. Because the other thing is that, vodka's not all the same. And
right.
maybe everyone's not going to like Broken Shed the best, but I think we're a contender. And I think that,
Mm,
there's so many great qualities to it that you
yeah,
should just taste it. Like, and I think that's a really important part of our success.
yeah. And I mean, look, with 40% growth, that might mean you need to expand and build out the team. I happen to know a guy who leads wine and spirits for an executive recruiting firm. I don't know.
There might be a
Uh,
link.
well, no
Yeah.
pressure. But that's truly impressive. And again, going back to, I can't stress it enough because Gen Z across consumer goods have been such a difficult consumer base to understand.
Hmm.
Um, but one thing that we do know is they're they're looking for brands that are purpose driven, are sustainable, are transparent, and are clean for lack of a
Hmm.
better word. And as you
Yeah.
said, no additives, no sugar, gluten
Hmm.
free. Um, Broken Shed provides all of that.
Exactly. Exactly. And, we try also to, do the responsible things. And, we run a program every November, like to support military veterans.
Yeah,
We support this great organization in Connecticut called Help Our Military Heroes. So that's part of our giving back as well. And
yeah,
we do other local, things too, but that's probably our biggest one we do. We do some others in New Zealand as well.
yeah,
And I think it's important to kind of have that as part of your whole thing. And I think that all of that is naturally where we go. And as a New Zealand brand, that's very much a part of the New Zealand makeup. So I
yeah.
think it comes through in who we are and what we want to do.
Yeah. That's that's great. I didn't know that you guys did a program for veterans.
Yeah.
That's something. Hearing that just sort of bolsters how proud I am to be part of the adult beverage industry.
Hmm.
In that, very recently, I think Mothers Against Drunk Driving, Uber, and I believe Diageo partnered together for, take a minute and plan,
Right.
for responsible consumption. And, as we kicked off the discussion by saying, we're here to enhance and enrich the experiences of consumers and
Yeah.
to provide a fun and safe atmosphere. And I think giving back is a really important part of any organization, but our industry especially.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like, it's all part of the whole responsibility message. Like if you're drinking, you want to drink the best you can.
Yes.
You're drinking less, so drink better.
Yeah.
But it's also, I, you can't lump everybody together. People are all individuals, but I think
Yeah.
that as a whole, supporting, having that role of supporting things and doing things you believe in and having all of that incorporated into your brand and having it really be a part of the brand, I think is important to the success.
That's that means a lot hearing from you, the leader of the brand, to say that, because a lot of what Broken Shed is doing in supporting veterans and making it a cleaner product, those are not mandatory. Those aren't standard practices by organizations.
They all cost money. Yeah.
Exactly. It all costs money, but clearly you and the Broken Shed team find it to be important enough that you invest that time, energy, money to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So
It's
thank you.
important to us. It's important to us. There's, we want to have a quality product and we want people to drink it, but we
Yeah.
also want to give back. And I
Yeah.
think that's very much, I can't say the New Zealand words, I bangle them, but there's Maori like concepts that say, keep, you want to give back to the world,
Yeah.
keep the world in a good shape and honor that. And so I think that's part of who we are as a New Zealand brand.
Yeah. And it's interesting. It just comes full circle, as we said, we're in a huge industry, but a small world. And
Hmm.
I guess applying it to the bigger picture, always trying to do the right thing and supporting one another as humanity.
Hmm.
I sound like Dr. Phil right now.
I know.
But
Where do we think this was going to end up?
yeah, I don't know, but now I think I need to shave my head and grow a mustache. But it's always really, it's refreshing and comforting and positive to hear about brands that are investing resources, time, and energy into good causes. And so, Jean, you have been so generous with your time today. I just one last question, and then I will let you go, because I know that you've got many, many hats to wear today.
Yeah.
And
The end of the year.
end of year, and then January 1st hits, and it's,
Yeah.
well, we're doing this again.
Mhm.
So I, as I had touched on earlier, 2023 and 2024, especially with normalization, shift in consumer behavior, and I think an appetite for craft brands.
Mhm.
Looking ahead, what excites you most about Broken Shed's future and the evolution of the vodka category as a whole? When some people, as you said, another vodka. So what excites you about Broken Shed and the vodka category?
Broken Shed's potential is what excites me. There's so much potential there. We've
Yeah.
only just begun our journey, and I think that you know that's huge.
Yeah.
So like I said, we've been the fastest growing vodka for the last 4 years. I think that there's no reason that won't continue. I think that the agreement with Southern is just going to add more to that.
Yeah.
Our distributor partners have been awesome. The consumers are just now really starting to know about Broken Shed.
Yeah.
There's so many that haven't tasted us, so we're trying our hardest to get them to all know it. We have so much room to expand.
Yeah.
We're in 34 states. We've only just started in the top 5 vodka states. So I think the potential is huge. And I think that we're delivering a product that today's consumer wants. We talked about like the sustainability, an excellent quality product, a
Yeah.
beautiful bottle. You know, there's no additives, there's no added sugars. They want some character. And I think that we deliver on all of that. I don't think
Hmm.
I know we delivered on all of that. I just have to get everybody else to know that.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I think that, we check all the boxes,
Hmm.
and I think that that's super important. And I think that the vodka, I think the industry as a whole, you know, there's a lot of competition out there.
Yeah.
And I think that some of it is that, there's lots of products to try and you should try them. And, maybe you'll find a new favorite. Don't buy something just because it's what you always drank. Try
Yeah.
something new.
I completely agree. And, would encourage everyone watching right now to do exactly as Gene said. Taste different products, you date around before you get married or commit to a brand, but definitely have Broken Shed vodka on your list. As we had said, the whey and the two, different types of water, the mouthfeel is great. It's smooth. It really is a very delicious product. And,
Yeah.
um,
Makes a
you know,
great cocktail. You know,
it really really does actually. I've got a bottle at home right now, and I didn't bring it into this room. I got a bottle out there. I have a bar in my office,
hmm
so everyone seems to just sort of
hang out with you.
shuffle in randomly, or
Yeah.
it's a rough day. Hey Gary, can I? And so I'm proud to now be able to give them more of a more information and background on Broken Shed when they're making a vodka cocktail.
Yeah.
Um,
I realized I have bottles on the shelf back there, but you can't really see them.
oh,
So
oh, it's blurred.
yeah,
Well,
that's
it
okay.
is a beautiful bottle with I mean
Yeah.
the frosted glass and the shed. So
Yeah. And one of the things that we've highlighted even more is that we have a mountain punt. Like it's representing the mountains of New Zealand. And so
interesting.
we've raised the frosting up a little bit so you see it more because it was kind of hidden in there. So now
Yeah,
it's kind of showcased a bit. Um, but it's kind of hard to see on a screen. But it's really
oh, I
beautiful.
love that.
Isn't it gorgeous? And it's a pretty package.
It
It's like
is.
it's hard to get you focused in there, and it's backwards,
There
but
it is.
know.
No, I'm gonna now examine the bottle as soon as
this
we hop off.
this bottle just started shipping,
Okay.
so it's just starting to hit the stores now. So
All
it's
right.
kind of interesting. It's very close to what we had out there before,
Mhm.
but we did modify the frosting because everybody kept telling us how beautiful the punch was, but nobody could see it. So we wanted to
Yeah.
raise it up and show it off a little more.
I'll take a look because usually I'm very perceptive to those things. So maybe I had bought a bottle prior to the repackaging.
You probably still have a mountain punt, but it's just
Okay,
not as visible.
I'll take a look and I'll let you know.
All right,
Um,
awesome.
Gene, thank you so much for your time and insights and just partnership over the years. Um, Truly, we really appreciate it and
Thank you.
keep up the incredible work. 40% year over year. As you said, 4 straight years is the fastest growing vodka in the U.S. Congratulations and thank you so much.
Yeah, we're proud of it.
Yes, you should be. You should
Yeah.
be.